It is truly staggering to see how much better the federal government treats unvetted alleged refugee Muslims than our own citizens, our veterans, the elderly, and our poor. These folks are not real refugees. You got to keep that in mind. That's why I call them pseudo-refugees. They are pawns in a George Soros scheme that has the ultimate objective of creating worldwide chaos so he can make huge financial profits. It's nothing more. In fact, by accepting unvetted Syrian pseudo-refugees, America is creating madness. Did you realize that Obama's Syrian pseudo-refugees are receiving Obamacare health insurance subsidies with your tax dollars? When Barack Obama and his former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton received their marching orders from George Soros 8 years ago, they really did a number on the United States. They created ISIS, they created a revolt in Syria, they created the destruction of the government of Libya, and now the American taxpayers are paying the bill. And it's going to take a lot of effort on our part to make America great again. We have a lot of work to do after the election, and that actually starts now with the fiscal 2017 budget. You'll be hearing a lot about the budget after the election once Congress gets back to Washington, D.C. next week. The budget nowadays is called a continuing resolution, and it is a package of omnibus bills to fund the federal government through 2017. Well, wait until you hear about one of the Obamacare benefits in the budget that benefits the Soros pseudo-refugees. As I mentioned, I call these pseudo-refugees because they're false refugees. They claim to be fleeing the Syrian civil war, and that war was created by George Soros and crooked Hillary. There's absolutely no reason why that war was ever created, and there was absolutely no reason why they can't stay in that area. They're brought here to further the chaos that George Soros wants to burden the world with. In fact, many of these fighting-aged, unvetted Islamic warriors don't fit the legal definition of refugee at all. I talk about this in several of my earlier videos on this channel, so you might want to watch those for some additional background on this issue. You can see in our notes below links to these other videos. As I also mentioned previously, the civil war in Syria was a fabrication of the billionaire currency manipulator George Soros. It's just another chaos from which Soros wants to profit, exactly like he profited from destroying the English currency in the early 90s. He made $1 billion by trying to bankrupt England. And you know what? They won't even let him back in the country, but we let him in ours, and he's now trying to bankrupt America. He cooked up the whole war scenario as a profit center and told Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to try to oust the Assad government in Syria so that Soros could push his open borders philosophy on governments of Europe and especially the USA, thereby crippling these governments and creating the kind of chaos they got in Germany and all over France right now. But wait until you hear the analysis from the Conservative Review on some of the benefits these Muslim pseudo-refugees are receiving. They're going to bankrupt us. This will drive you nuts. And I hope it will spur you to take action because we need to demand that Congress shut down this pseudo-refugee resettlement program until some sanity can be restored to it and we can vet all the people coming in here.
It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
Before we get started in the main part of this video, I want to make one thing abundantly clear to you. I want you to understand this. I'm not anti-refugee, and neither is our church. Pray for us. If there's a true refugee involved, I say let's vet him and bring him in. The second biggest issue with the refugee resettlement program, however, is that it brings in potential terrorists with no interest in assimilating to American culture, and we cannot conduct background checks on them. The federal government has admitted that numerous times. There's no way to vet these people. One of the biggest Muslim war criminals from Africa, by the way, a guy who is alleged to have murdered hundreds of women and children in Somalia and possibly engaged in cannibalism, now works for airport security at Dulles International Airport in Washington, D.C. And he got into the United States as a refugee. Why? because the FBI says it's impossible to vet any pseudo-refugee from the Middle East and most of Africa. A background check simply can't be done on these people from these countries in the manner that the United States wants to do it. If we can't figure out who they are, they shouldn't be allowed to come in. Christian compassion for the suffering people around the world is not supposed to be a suicide pact for our nation. So here is an additional outrage that Conservative Review has uncovered in the language of this new Obamacare law amendment coming to us in the 2017 budget, if we let it stand. As long as a person is in the United States and is here lawfully present, according to the Obamacare language, then that person qualifies for Obamacare subsidies. So for American citizens, your Obamacare insurance is going to skyrocket next year. Folks in Arizona will see their premiums go up by as much as 116%. Many other states will see price hikes of much as 60% or more. Other states will see their private insurance companies that are backing Obama withdraw because they're going bankrupt too. Well, let me read you a key quote from the article on Conservative Review. You can find a link to this full article on our action page today, and you'll be given instructions how to get there in a moment. And I want to quote, similarly situated U.S. citizens and lawfully present non-citizens who are eligible for Medicare could technically participate in Obamacare exchange, but they would be ineligible for the premium credits and cost-sharing subsidies that are given to these unvetted Muslim immigrants called refugees, or as I call them, pseudo-refugees. In other words, American citizens who are suffering under the disastrous Obama economy do not qualify for the same level of benefits that these new incoming pseudo-refugees get just by setting foot in the United States. Legal immigrants don't receive the Obamacare subsidies, but the Soros pseudo-unvetted Muslim refugees do. So if one of these foreign war criminals that comes in this stream of unvetted Muslims is putting together a pressure cooker bomb that he wants to set off at the Boston Marathon or some other public event, and he accidentally blows his thumbs off, your tax dollars will pay all of his hospital bills. This refugee resettlement program is a slap in the face to all American patriots. Obama brings these unvetted Muslims into our country. 99% of them are Sunni Muslims, and we know for a fact that 5% of them are members of the terrorist group known as ISIS or ISIL, the Islamic State, or Daesh. They go by many names, but it's all one group, and they are placed on welfare for life once they set foot on the United States soil. There is no upside to bringing these potential terrorists into the country. They have no interest in assimilating to American culture. The Obama administration provides for their every need with your tax dollars so they can live a comfortable existence until some of them decide to launch their own personal jihad attack against us, their American hosts, like they did in San Bernardino, like they did in Florida. This program needs to be shut down because Obama wants a 25% increase in fiscal year 2017 for this unvetted refugee program. I hope you will speak out and take part in this effort because this 2017 budget will be ironed out in the coming days. And once it's signed into law by Obama, the next administration, whether it's Trump or Clinton, will not be able to do anything about it. We'll be stuck bringing in another 110,000 unvetted Muslim refugees, of which statistically speaking, about 6,000 of them will be terrorists. So please go to our action page today and speak out to Congress. Bob Mallory will have instructions for you on the next screen, so stay tuned. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many, many blessings.
Tell Congress to shut down this pseudo-refugee program that treats the Soros invaders better than we treat our own veterans and elderly. If you're on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find a link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.